It's probably fair to say that Manchester is currently the dominant city in English football, and now it's also home to perhaps the finest collection of football memorabilia in the world. The new English National Football Museum has just been opened, containing over 2,500 artefacts. Kevin Moore is the museum's director.
We have the first handwritten laws of the game from November 1863. Now, 13 laws, they have changed since, of course, but that really is from that to the global game that we have now, played all around the world by billions of people and watched by billions. So there is that special significance, obviously, to the National Football Museum for England.
Though most exhibits are obviously from England, the museum is also the permanent home of the FIFA Collection.
The FIFA Collection was put together by one Englishman, a former journalist, Harry Langton, who gathered this amazing collection of football memorabilia. He took it himself to the World Cup in Italy in 1990 and displayed it, and again in the USA in 1994. Sepp Blatter, Mr. Haviland, others at FIFA saw it and thought, this is an amazing collection. It really ought to be preserved.
Offering free admission, the museum lets visitors view some of football's most treasured items. They include the 1966 FIFA World Cup final ball, the only replica of the Jules Rimet trophy, and Pele's shirt from his 1958 triumph in Sweden. It also contains some of football's oldest items.
The first amazing item we have, that jersey from the first international, England against Scotland in 1872, is actually made of wool. It's knitted, so you might think it's a very warm item to wear, but you've got to remember we're playing in the British climate, and actually the game was up in Glasgow, but also I should imagine on a rainy day a woolen outfit would get very, very wet and heavy.
Whilst woolen jerseys aren't quite the rage anymore, there are a few other shirts on display that bring back memories for former England international John Barnes.
And the biggest memory I had is wondering how Steve Hodge got Maradona's shirt. Because for me that World Cup was just one of the greatest ever. And to be on the same field as Maradona was special. He's the greatest player in the world ever, in my opinion. So to actually come on even for 20 minutes to play against him, I was very jealous not to get his shirt. But of course Hodges donated it here.
The museum may be home to some historic items, but it also features more contemporary displays to keep young and old enthralled. Jill Scott, a midfielder for England and Great Britain women, was also at the opening.
You've got different trophies here, different shirts of all the events that have happened, and just really to get more people in to learn about the history of football, but obviously just to celebrate it as well really, because it's a sport that brings so much enjoyment and fun.
We're telling the story of how the game spread from England around the world. It then took completely a life of its own. England is just the spark. But it's very important to tell that story and to look at the development of the FIFA, the growth of the World Cup. It's an extraordinary phenomenon when you look back at it, that a game invented in some handwritten rules by a group of Victorian gentlemen in England in 1863, in just less than 150 years can become the biggest sport in the world and a global cultural phenomenon.
Whilst England was the birthplace of association football, similar games have existed around the globe for thousands of years. This museum represents football for all.
The game doesn't belong to England, of course it doesn't. It may have started here, but the game belongs to the world. But we hope people will understand that special significance of how on earth it began here in England back in 1863.